Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, and in today's video I will be discussing shortly regarding the unit 5th of our subject, that is macroeconomics, that deals with the topic of business cycles and their control measures. So firstly we need to understand what exactly business cycle is. So very firstly you need to understand whenever a business is established, whether it be a startup or anything, it goes through certain stages from growth, expansion. You have all already heard this term that when there is a new business, it won't go into profit instantly. First it stays in loss for a few years, then and later on it grows and goes into profit. Then at one point it achieves its peak and then it drops. So that these are the stages of the business cycle. So business cycle refers to the fluctuation in economic activity over time, characterized by periods of expansion and contraction. Then again, what are the phases of business cycle? This is a very simplest diagram that explains the exact phases of business cycle that a business goes through. So there is this graph. The x-axis represents the time and the y-axis represents the output, that is the what exactly is the phase that this business is going through. First phase is that it is going up at its peak, so it is at its growth, then you call it as growth, and when it reaches at its peak it is called as highest sales. When it happens, when the business is really booming, then it goes at its peak. Then again when it reaches its peak, then slowly it will go at the stage of drought, where it will incur losses and the peak will fall down slowly and gradually. Then at one point this business will get a breakthrough through, and then it will start growing again, and then again when it reaches a stable position again, we call it as recession. So this is the basic stages and phases of business cycle. First the business will be introducing, then it will reach its peak, and when it reaches its peak, then it will fall down, the profits will fall down, it will incur losses, it will go in a situation of drought, then again it will again go take a small step back, it will grow again, then there will be recession period. So this is the stages of business cycle, phases of business cycle. So there are different theories as to what business cycles are. First is the Keynesian theory, which relates the influence or the phases of business which are directly influenced by demand. So Keynesian theory directly refers to demand driven cycles requiring government intervention. So when government intervenes with this demand supply forces, then it is the time that business phases changes. Second is the monetarist theory, which states that money supply fluctuations are the primary cause of these business cycles. So it entirely depends on the central bank. Then next is this Schumpeter's innovation theory. So he states that innovation leads to economic booms and slowdowns. So it all comes down to one aspect, that is of research and development. But whatever the business may be, if the research and development, the innovation sector of that business is strong, it will lead to the changes in the business cycle. And fourth is the real business cycle theory, that is external shocks. Specifically we take an example of oil prices, so that secondary industry related to the fuels, it is what is called as real business cycle theory. Then what is the impact of this business cycle? First impact is that employment. So when business is very stable, it is in profit, the wages will be higher and etc. So it will be higher in the expansion phase, and when there will be a recession phase, employment will be lower because there will be no money to pay the workers. Then inflation, when prices rise in expansion and stabilize in contraction. So when there is a growth is there in business, there will be increase in the price which will lead to inflation, but then again the prices will stabilize when in a contraction, or we can say as a recession phase where the business is stable. Then investment, during a growth of a business you will see high investments in that particular business, but again in a recession phase there won't be any much investments in the same. Then the last point is regarding the role of monetary policy in controlling these business cycles. So in two phases, mainly expansion phase and recession phase, we can see in expansion phase that central bank increases its interest rates to control inflation in its entirety. So when central bank increases the interest rates, automatically it will lead to inflation and it will burden the company or the business. But since it is in an expansion phase, it is growing phase, therefore it won't be facing such problems. Then next is in the recession phase, interest rates will be lowered to boost the investment and demand so as to stabilize the business. Then open market operations, repo rates and reverse repo rates and cash reserve ratio, these are all the instruments that are used in as the role of monetary policy in controlling business cycles. These are the instruments to measure what exactly the position of that particular business is. Then again, what is the role of fiscal policies in controlling the business cycles? So again the same thing in expansion and recession phase. Here we will talk about taxation policy. In expansion phase specifically, higher taxes and reduced government spendings to control overheating. So when a business is an expansion phase, taxes incurred on that particular business will be much higher in amount because the business is capable to repay the taxes. Then government will reduce its spendings to control the overheating atmosphere during the expansion phase, and since the business is in an expansion phase, it is able to pay those high taxes. Whereas on the other hand, in the recession phase, the taxes incurred will be very low and government will increase its spending to boost the demand so that the business will become stable. So this is the role of fiscal policy. Then again, tools are taxation policies, public expenditure, and deficit financing. These are the tools that will impact the controlling the business cycle. This is the fiscal policy part. Then lastly, some cases we have already seen as to how things are changing because of certain economic activities, certain economic problems. So in 1929 there was Great Depression, where uncontrolled market speculation and monetary tightening had happened, where entire businesses stages were demolished because there was a Great Depression. The value of the currency were highly reduced and it caused a lot of problems in business cycles. Then in 2008, due to the financial crisis, and there were many banking failures which were happened in 2008, which again impacted the business cycles. And COVID-19, we can clearly see it is in the recession phase, as most of the businesses in the COVID-19 phase has received loss. It has gone in a drought situation, and it is now being slowly growth, and at this point they are now in a recession phase. So this was all regarding the 5th unit of the topic microeconomics regarding business cycles and all. The PPT will be provided in the description. Thank you so much.